And then copy your item right there. We need to start the PO vents, and PO is good with going without that, so we'll just go without the SSC for right now. Sorry about that. And with that, station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station, we're ready for the event.
Houston ACR, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Houston ACR. How do you hear me?
We have you loud and clear.
We've got you loud and clear as well. Please stand by for opening comments.
Hello, I'm Robin Soprano, Vice President of Space Camp at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Every year, thousands of young people from around the world come to the Rocket Center and Space Camp to train like astronauts and launch their futures in STEM-related fields. Today, some of our Space Camp trainees had the incredible opportunity to speak with an astronaut currently aboard the ISS. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin the conversation.
Hi, my name is John, and my question is, what is a typical day in space for you? How do you spend your time?
Hey, welcome aboard the International Space Station to all of those at Space Camp. And like your John, I like your question to start off. So typical day, it's pretty common to have someone just kind of floating around upside down next to you. We run on the wall and we lift weights on the wall, and a lot of things are on the ceiling. So that's pretty typical. But, we live kind of like you guys do. We have a schedule. We go to work every day, and we work from about 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. or so with some time for lunch. We do a lot of science on board. We do a lot of maintenance as well. We're the plumbers and electricians up here, and we live our daily lives kind of working through to maintain the International Space Station and get all the science done up here.
Hi, my name is Wyatt. My question is, have you ever talked to the Marshall Space Flight Center's Payload Operations Center?
Hey Wyatt, we talk to Marshall all the time. We call them Huntsville for short, and they're one of our biggest support teams. We operate with them every single day, and a lot of our science experiments kind of start at the epicenter of Huntsville, where they walk us through procedures and have experts standing by to answer any questions we might have. So we couldn't do our daily jobs without Huntsville's support.
Hello, my name is Raylan, and my question is, have there ever been insects or animals on the space station?
Hey, Raylan, the answer to that is yes. We have used insects for different types of research because if you think about it, we don't actually send up very many astronauts. So for the scientists, we are kind of called statistically insignificant. We're really low numbers when they research on us. But when you have little tiny insects, we can send a whole ton of them. So I'm going to give you a really cool example of some that we have right here. And I'm going to ask one of my crewmates to take it up to the camera and show you. These are fruit flies, and these were recently flown by Hunor, which is a Hungarian in orbit, which is a new country that's participating in research aboard the International Space Station. And Hungary flew these fruit flies to investigate how radiation impacts the body, like a living organism. So they have some fruit flies that were born on Earth, and they're here, and then they have some fruit flies that are going to be born during this mission. And they're going to look at the differences in the enzymes in the bodies of the fruit flies to see if there's any difference for the ones that were born in gravity or off gravity. So this is just one of the examples, and this can tell us a lot about how our human body would react to radiation and microgravity over a long period of time.
Hi, my name is Rhea, and my question is, did going to space camp prepare you for going to space?
Hey, Rhea, actually, my middle name is spelled just like your first name, so I had to have a shout out for your name. But yes, I think that going to space camp as a kid really inspired me. I knew what space was, and I knew there were astronauts, but I got to really learn kind of what a day in the life looks like, what training might look like. I think the most core memory for me is actually the zero gravity wall, if they still have it around, where they hook you up and you get to spend, I think it was like 30 or 40 minutes on this wall. And, a lot of people spend time building or doing other things. And man, I just spent the whole time like jumping from the ground and floating all the way up all 3 stories and then climbing back down and jumping again. So, I was really inspired by everything that I got to learn there and see. And, it really boosted my motivation to try to get here one day.
Hi, my name is Prince, and my question is, what does the space station sound like? Is it noisy with all the experiments, or is it quiet?
So space station has a lot of noises. So we kind of have a continuous background noise of all the various different fans and environmental control systems that are ongoing at any given time. And then in addition to that, if we're running specific experiments, those experiments can have additional hardware that causes a lot of extra noises. So at any given time, we're kind of always surrounded by a lot of noise, but you do get used to it. And we have crew quarters where we get to spend some of our personal time and where we sleep. And those crew quarters are protected pretty well with sound dampening walls that give us a little bit of peace and quiet at the end of the day.
Hi, my name is Caden, and my question is, what has been the coolest thing you've seen so far out of the cupola window?
I think my favorite thing to look at the cupola window are the auroras, and especially when you're, over an area of the world at nighttime and there's like a thunderstorm, which kind of looks like some fireworks coming off of Earth, and then you see this aurora built. For those of you that haven't seen an aurora, and if you live like kind of in the southern half of the United States, you may not have seen one. But an aurora is this amazing green hue that comes off of the poles usually during like a period of high solar activity. So when the sun is shooting lots of particles at us, like little bullets, those little bullets come down and they hit the Earth's magnetic field, which accelerates those little magnetic particles to the poles, and they react with these oxygen molecules, and it creates this green aurora that's also sometimes red and sometimes pink and sometimes all different colors. So definitely while you're at space camp, ask some of the instructors to show you what auroras look like from the space station. My other favorite part of that is that usually everyone is in the cupola at the same time looking at them.
Hi, my name is Gabriella, and my questions are, what kind of health-related research are you doing right now? And do you think we will have any new medications or treatments from it?
Hey, Gabriella, that's a really interesting question. Actually, we just finished an experiment called the ring shear drop. So they're looking at protein crystals and the way that they shear or break right where the surface of water or liquid meets the air. And so this is actually going to help inform the way that we do medication for things like cancer, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. So they're actually building these computer models to help model how those how those proteins shear and break, and it'll help us build medications. So it's actually a really interesting experiment that we just wrapped up here.
Hi, my name is Declan, and my question is, have you taken any pictures from the cupola windows, and what happens to those photos?
Yeah, one of our favorite activities, Declan, is to take photos from the amazing windows we have. Cupola offers us a perspective like none other. And my friend Ann here and Vapor have 2 of the cameras that we have on board. These particular models are digital cameras, and they have these really powerful lenses at the end of them that enable us to zoom to great lengths and also bring in a lot of extra light in so that we can take really crisp, clear photos even in the darkest of conditions.
Hi, my name is Brooks, and my question is, what specific skills do you need for this mission?
I would say that the biggest skill that you need is being able to adapt to a lot of different requirements. So we talk about soft skills and hard skills. So we need technical skills where we know how to put cables onto boxes. We understand how to do some troubleshooting on mechanical systems like air conditioning or computers, things like that. And then we also talk about soft skills. The three of us have been together for a few months, and if you think about a couple of the people in your class and just imagine being in a closed compartment with them for 3 months, all the things that may come up and the conversations that you'll have, and I probably annoyed my crewmates more than once. And so we got to talk through those things because we have to accomplish the mission together. And so that's what we call soft skills, just the ability to communicate through things. And being able to adapt from situation to situation is really important. So when you're at Space Camp this week, what I want you to do is you're going to get classes and shown a lot of different things, a lot of different opportunities to do a lot of really cool things. And they're all going to be really different. And really that's kind of what we're doing up here. It's a lot of different skills required. And the ability to adapt and understand each situation and what skills to apply to each situation.
Hi, my name is Jada, and my question is, how did you become an astronaut?
Hey, Jada. So for me, like I said, I really loved space and flying when I was little. And, you know, the shuttle was still flying when we were growing up. And so as soon as I found out that you could fly the shuttle, I was like, ooh, that's what I want to do. I want to be a pilot and I want to fly this thing. And, you know, I went to Space Camp, which really inspired me. I loved my time at Space Camp. And that kind of sealed the deal on what I wanted to do. And I was kind of a serious little kid and set some really high goals and just started working towards that path. But, you know, as I started to do those things, I fell in love with flying and I fell in love with math and I fell in love with learning. And so doing the things that you're passionate about, I think, is the biggest and the most important thing that you can do to get where we are here today. So find something that you're passionate about, work really hard at it, and be a good team player, and you could be up here one day.
Hi, my name is Yash, and my question is, can you drink your morning coffee in space?
Gosh, that's a resounding yes. You can definitely drink your morning coffee in space. And Anne here has 2 drink bags, and we're going to demonstrate how fluids can react in microgravity. So Anne's going to take a little bit of water out, and you can see that it's just kind of floating on the tip of the straw. And because we're in a weightless environment, as soon as we kind of discharge a little bit of water, it'll float, and it takes the shape of a sphere because that's the lowest energy form when you're in a microgravity environment. Thanks, Anne.
Hi, my name is Lyra, and my question is, what was the hardest challenge you had to face to get to space?
I think for me the hardest challenge was the amount of things that you have to learn before you can come to space. I was ready to come to space when I was like 5, but NASA didn't think I was quite ready yet. So I had to spend a lot of years in school, and then I had to figure out kind of what path I wanted to take. If you want to be an astronaut, there's so many different paths that you can take. You know, you can be a pilot, you can be a scientist, you can be a doctor, you can be a geologist and spend time out like looking at rocks and thinking about the origin of the universe, or an astronomer and looking deep into space and wondering like where are we in the universe. There's so many different paths that you can take. So I picked my path of being a pilot and an engineer, and they still didn't think I was ready to be an astronaut when I was 20. So you know, I had to keep going and keep flying, getting more experience and leadership experience. So I think for me, really the hardest part was, number 1, the weight, and number 2, believing in a dream that seems so far out there and that you don't necessarily see a lot of other people doing. And so my advice to you would be to be really unrealistic about your dreams, but be very realistic about your path, and believe that if you do something every single day to work toward your dreams, that it can come true one day. And I know it's going to be hard to be patient, but it's going to be worth it.
Hi, my name is Mason. My question is, how long does it take to put on your spacesuit?
Hey, Hey, Mason. Well, it actually takes quite a while to put on your spacesuit. Ann and I did a spacewalk in May, and Johnny helped suit us up, actually. So Taka and Johnny, our two other crewmates, were in the crew lock with us, getting us suited up. So we started our day at like 6 a.m., and we have to do a pre-breathe. So we have to put masks on our face and breathe 100% oxygen. And we have to do that for several hours in order to prevent the decompression sickness from the pressure changes in the suit. So we actually started the day super early, and we were out there at about 6, and then we started to get into the suits probably around 7:30, and it takes a couple hours because we both have to get in. You put the pant legs on kind of like pants, but they're these massive pants, and on Earth the whole spacesuit weighs about 300 pounds. So we have to have somebody else help us get in there, and then we have to get into the upper torso portion. We have to get our gloves on. We have to get the helmet on. Everything has to be sealed perfectly. And then we have a MEDOX chamber. That's a chamber that in the suit that will scrub the CO2, and we have to change that out. So that's a very particular procedure. So by the time that we actually get into the airlock and open the hatch and go out into space, we've actually been at work for like 6 or 7 hours, and just to get ready and get into the suits. So it's a pretty long process, but it's well worth it to get out the door.
Hi, my name is Noah, and my question is, are there any planes going on the space station right now?
Hey, Noah, actually, there are, and we're going to demonstrate one for you. This is our friend Pete. He's a peanut plant, and he's growing on the space station. And what's interesting about plants is that, plants take a lot of signals when they're on Earth. They not only use the sense of gravity, but also the direction of the sun. And so because being in a weightless environment, it's a little bit different. But Pete's been growing out okay, and we take good care of him.
Hi, my name is Giovanni, and my question is, what do you do for fun in your downtime?
I'm glad you asked this, because we do have a lot of fun in our downtime. And on my first flight, I got the advice that, hey, if it would entertain someone who is 10 years old, it will entertain you as an adult. And that is so true. So I'm guessing that some of you might be younger than 10 or about 10, and some of you guys are older, but kind of what you think is fun, we think is fun. So we play games. We have a mesh bag full of balls that we've got, like baseballs and ping pong balls and a rugby ball. We'll throw those around. We try to get creative with our floating. So we like to see how far we can go through a module floating without kicking something. We like talking to each other, even though we see each other every single day. We actually do enjoy talking to each other and catching up on days and catching up on people's families on Earth. We like movie nights. That's a highlight here. And then we like to get creative with our food. And I think the most creative we got on this mission was making space sushi. We tried to find some different fish and tuna and some Spam, and put it on little pieces of rice, and then we tried to keep it sticky. It was a little bit of a mess, but it tasted pretty good.
Hi, my name is Matthew, and my question is it hard to exercise in space?
Hey, Matthew, that's a great question. Exercise is really important for us because without the gravity, your bones and your muscles start to deteriorate. Your body's like, oh, we don't need to fight against the force of gravity anymore. So it starts to get rid of your muscle mass and your bone density. So we do exercise every single day, but it's not too tough. Running in space, you don't really get a good workout if you just move your legs, right? So you got to have some sort of way to simulate the weight. So we'll put a harness on and attach it to a bungee to hold us down on the treadmill. And then we have this really cool machine called ARED. It's a resistive device. It uses a lot of really cool physics. So it's got vacuum chambers in there to create the resistance, and it actually causes a constant resistance the whole time. So you can actually do squats with resistance, and it feels kind of like a normal squat bar. So there have been a lot of really brilliant engineers and scientists who came up with how exactly we're going to do exercise on the space station.
Hi, my name is Henry, and my question is, what happens if you get sick in space?
It's a great question. So Anne here is demonstrating what we call an emesis bag. And if we get really, really sick, we can put this up against our face, and hopefully it captures all of the contents of whatever we had for breakfast that day. But normally that doesn't happen. The times when people feel sick is when they first get to the space station. It's a brand new environment, and your whole body and your brain is undergoing a lot of adaptations to this new environment, so you can feel sick. I know I personally felt quite sick for the first couple of days. Other than that, if there's any kinds of illnesses that might happen on the space station, we do have crew medical officers, we have doctors at Mission Control Houston that are standing by, and we have an assortment of medication that Vapor here is showing you.
Thank you to the crew on the ISS. Your work drives our scientific progress, fuels future missions, and delivers benefits back here on Earth. And to our Space Camp trainees, thank you for your thoughtful questions and boundless curiosity. And happy anniversary to NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.